What's happening, YouTube? It's your boy H Dog, and I'm back here today to talk to you about recent news of a certain governor from Kentucky who I think he was on CNN, right? And they were talking about the recent Florida shooting, uh, where 17 people got injured. Well, no, 17 people were killed, and this 19-year-old kid used the AR-15, shot down innocent kids in brutal fashion. And during this interview, do you know what this man said? The governor of Kentucky. He said we need to call upon the music industry, the TV shows, movies, and here's the kicker: the cherry on top, video games. We need to call upon the video game industry. More specifically, the violent video games is what he's referring to, saying that we need to do better, that the video game industry needs to do better, and he calls upon them to be banned. As if this isn't the first time we've heard this after any big tragedy. What I can't understand is that you want to use your political platform. And even though I'm not a politician, I don't partake in politics, but you want to use your political platform, and instead of doing something, that could actually change things for the better, you want to scapegoat video games. You want to go after video. You want to attack video games, scapegoat video games for a mass shooting. But you want to come after the games, right? For a guy who just went crazy and decided he's going to kill everybody. And keep in mind, last I heard, this kid, this guy didn't have a criminal record at all. But he had history of aggression. He had history of violence. But the point is, we're at this point where instead of telling the country we need to come together in times like this, you want to scapegoat violent video games. And this isn't the first time. There's many other times video games have been scapegoated. It's the main reason why we got the ESRB today. Um, but how come it is every damn time a tragedy like this happens, video games are always the problem, when there's many studies that proves video games aren't linked to violence? And you may have these lawmakers come out and say, "Oh, we got to do something about these violent video games that shows gore, that glorifies killing." And he pretty much spouted off, like he pretty much spouted off, making it seem like these video games glorify killing people. And he even said, he literally said that there are games out there which you can kill people where the people are begging for their life. Okay, number one, and I'm gonna make this very clear, it's just a video game. Two, it's the parent's responsibility. If to, it's a parent's responsibility to know what the hell they're buying, instead of buying Jimmy Grand Theft Auto 5, which has much more than violence. Has sexual scenes, has alcohol use involved, has violence against police in that game, and etc. You need to really know what the hell you're buying. It's the kids. It's really the parents who need to know what the hell they're buying for their kids. And most of the times, these parents just buy them Grand Theft Auto just to get them to be quiet so they won't moan about it. They buy the game because their friend got the game and they want to get the game to look cool. But you can't blame the video game industry for the actions of a violent person, but you need to look at the parents. Instead of blaming video game industry and violent media in general, you need to look at the parents and call upon the parents to make better decisions with their money. Instead of making purchases just to keep the kids quiet, just to keep them off your back. And it wouldn't surprise me, this same governor, it wouldn't surprise me if this same governor probably buys the same type of games for his kids, or for his grandkids, or his nephews, or whoever the hell he buys for. He probably does the same damn thing that he's talking about. He's probably pretty much a big old Kentucky hypocrite, stating that we should do something about violent video games, but it's probably one of the main people who buys them. Now, here's the thing. You cannot. Now, he hasn't said he buys violent games for his kids, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Because he obviously has never played a video game in his fucking life, much like any other, politician who claims violent video games are bad or video games are bad in general, when there's been many studies that playing video games are actually good for you. There are even reports and studies that video games help fight Alzheimer's and other ailments that that could affect you when you get older. Like, there's even been reports of elderly playing video games. Like, I even heard a news story of a 75-year-old grandma playing GTA 4, even though that game came out last gen. But still, just consider that. All right, and it helps with your brain functions and motor skills. There's science to prove that. He won't talk about that, but he'll talk about how much games glorify violence. He won't talk about the good stuff, but he'll talk about the bad stuff. And I kind of find it odd and somewhat hypocritical. This man only wants to talk about violent video games when there's a shooting. But why are you waiting until now to talk about it? Why didn't you talk about this a month ago, 2 months ago, when nothing was going on? No, you ain't say a damn word. You ain't say a damn word. You just wanted to use this tragedy as an excuse to try to go after video games, which I knew was gonna happen because it always happens. And people want to know why I'm skeptical of the government intervening and trying to regulate the video game industry. It's for this very sole purpose, because they can use a tragedy like this as a scapegoat on video games. But a part of me is not worried that violent video games will ever get banned, because one, we have the ESRB, and as long as they do their jobs, we won't have nothing to worry about. Two, if they only knew how much revenue the video game industry brings in, and if you look at a lot of the video games that come out per year, like, they're most of them, you could make an argument and say a good, I don't know, there could be a good argument that possibly 80-85%, maybe 90% of the video games that come out are violent, and maybe a good 10% are non-violent. And what I mean by non-violent, I mean games like Madden, sports titles, little indie titles for kids, Mario, for example, Zelda, but there may be that one crazy lawmaker who may say Zelda is a sword wielding maniac on the prowl, wanting to kill people just out of spite. There may be that one lawmaker who looks at Monster Hunter World and says they're glorifying killing animals. But if you look at that game, those are obviously aren't real animals. They're monsters. You know, and you may have those SJWs clamoring, "Oh, monsters have rights too." And I'm just let that one sink in, because I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up tomorrow and heard that. But here's the thing: violence is always going to be a part in people's lives, whether it's video games, movies, TV shows. It all depends on the person playing the game. I've been playing violent video games all my life since I was a kid back in third, fourth grade. Do you think that and there were times that I may have been mad, at certain instances in my personal life, but there was never once one instance where I wanted to go shoot up my high school. Never, or go shoot up my job. There was never an instance where I felt like I had to do something like that. You know why? Because I'm smart. In a game like Grand Theft Auto, you can get away with killing everybody. In a game like that, you can get away with shooting a dog in that game. You know why? Because it's a video game. It's not real. And people want to get this shit banned, but when you think about it, none of it's real. It's simulated violence. Yes, it's still violence. I'm not saying it's not violence. It's violence, but it's fake violence. Nobody's actually dying. No one's actually getting hurt. No animal is being abused. You see what I'm getting at? And I'm going to end this video by saying this. You lawmakers who are so against violent video games, where are you when there isn't a tragedy? You want to only talk about stuff like that when there is a tragedy, but why don't you say anything when there isn't one, if you are so against it? And furthermore, why don't you do some actual fucking research that proves how bad violent video games are to people, to kids? Why don't you do some actual research? Why don't you look to the parents and tell them, know what the hell you're buying before you spend your 60 bucks on it? Why don't you tell the parents that? Furthermore, you should actually, and last but not least, you should actually play a fucking game, know what the fuck you're talking about. Until you pick up a controller, until you play a violent video game, you come back and tell me if that video game made you want to go shoot somebody in the head. But with that being said, guys, what do you guys think about this? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let's talk about it down in the comments below, and let's have a discussion about this. If you enjoyed my video, smash that like button as hard as you can. Subscribe if you're new, and tap the notification bell. That way you'll stay up to date on all my content, and you never miss a video. And until next time, guys, I'm going to talk to you later. Peace.